Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another video. So this week's video, I wanted to talk about the silent treatment. And the reason why I wanted to make this video was because if you have been in an emotionally abusive relationship, a narcissistically abusive relationship, if you have struggled with codependency, being a people pleaser, the silent treatment is going to eat away at you. So in this week's video, I wanted to go over why people choose the silent treatment as a form of emotional abuse, and really how can you handle yourself and kind of overcome the silent treatment, because we can't control what other people do, but we can control ourselves. So how do we deal with whatever's going on inside when someone does give us the silent treatment? So one of the first reasons why someone will give you the silent treatment is because perhaps in your conversation or in your argument, whatever it was, you hit a nerve. You hit a nerve in them. So you hit one of their internal wounds. And because they don't know how to process what they're feeling, they don't know how to deal with what they're feeling, they're just going to completely shut down. So, and we've all been there. So we don't need to necessarily give the silent treatment. Sometimes we get defensive, sometimes we project, sometimes we use manipulation. So there's all these different types of tactics that we can use when someone essentially hits that nerve, hits that wound within us. So someone is giving you the silent treatment possibly because you hit a nerve in them, in themselves, and they don't know how to deal with it. And the only way they know how to deal with it is to completely shut down. The next reason is, quite frankly, they just have poor communication skills. So a lot of the times people will give you the silent treatment because, number one, you hit a nerve or a nerve's been hit within themselves and they don't even know that that is a nerve, that is an internal wound. And so they'll completely shut down, or sometimes they'll just react. And even if they did know what the wound was and where you kind of hurt them maybe, or what you kind of said that maybe stung for them, they don't know how to process what they're feeling. And so they can't communicate with you what they're feeling. So a lot of the times, I'm going to go right into number 3, is they'll project their own stuff onto you. So when they shut down, they're shutting down because they oftentimes don't know what they're feeling. They don't know how to communicate what they're feeling in a healthy way. And because they're starting to shut down, they might actually start projecting some of their stuff onto you before they actually really give you the silent treatment. So that's when they're going to flip it on you. It's going to be all about you. You did this wrong. You did that wrong, because they don't want to take accountability for their actions. They just want to blame, blame, blame. And again, they just want to, after they blame, they want to shut down, because then that makes them the victim. So they just love to kind of flip things on you. And again, the reason why they like to flip things, the reason why they're shutting down is because, number one, they don't know what they're feeling. They don't know where their wounds are, and they're just reacting so someone else can be responsible for what they're feeling and where their wounds are, and that person is going to be you. Also, someone that you've had an argument with or a discussion with, and now they're starting to shut down, and they like to give you the silent treatment, that's just their drink of choice. They do that because they know it bugs you. So like I said, in a lot of my videos, we teach people how we want to be treated. And so if someone shuts down, and when they shut down, we just hover over them and we just, really need to talk about everything. And why are you giving me the silent treatment? And you're just begging and begging for someone to give you attention. Then that person knows that they got to you. But if you were self-loving to say, okay, you're acting like a child and you're beginning to shut down, and that's not acceptable, so it's fine to take a break. If a conversation is becoming overwhelming, that's totally fine, because a lot of us are highly sensitive. We can get very overwhelmed in conversations. And I get this question a lot from people that say, well, I tend to shut down. And what I always ask them is, well, how do you feel towards the person that you shut down with? Is this person manipulative? Is this person egotistical? Are they condescending? Because I know personally I've been in relationships where there were few people in my life that I always shut down right away. And it's because they were manipulative and condescending, and they were very witty, and they were narcissistic. And if you're going toe to toe with a narcissist, you're probably going to get overwhelmed because they can cut you at your knees. So in those situations, if you're getting overwhelmed in an argument or a discussion with someone, it's totally fine to take a step back and say, I don't want to talk about this right now. I need a break. That's not giving the silent treatment, because you know that while you need a break, that this conversation needs to happen at another point in time after you've calmed down and relaxed. So you're not avoiding the topic. The silent treatment is really when someone wants to avoid like I said, not take accountability, not take responsibility for their part in the argument or discussion. The next reason why someone might give you the silent treatment is because this is your punishment. So it kind of goes along with because they know it bugs you inside. This is their way of punishing you for holding them accountable, for trying to make them, accountable for their actions or what they said or what they did. And when people don't want to be held accountable, they're going to use a lot of abusive tactics in order to, like I said, either punish you or flip the script on you. And really, by punishing you, that's what makes them feel powerful. That's what makes them the victim. So they become the victim. They begin to have power in the discussion or argument. They've now flipped it on you, and they've now won, and you're sitting there hurt, upset, begging to talk about this, begging for attention, when they're just sitting back and feeling, have basically sucked you dry, essentially. And this is why sometimes a narcissist, this is their drink of choice, is the silent treatment, or one of them, is because they feel powerful at the end because they have switched the gears. And now they're the victim and you're the person that actually hurt them. So how do we handle this person? How do we handle a family member or a coworker or a friend or a spouse, whoever, a sister, brother, that likes to give the silent treatment? One of the biggest things that you have to really, really understand is you cannot take what they're doing personally. It has nothing to do with you. So if you're struggling with codependency, all of a sudden that, inner wound is going to start, that bell's going to go off of, okay, look, I'm not lovable, I'm not even worthy of a conversation, like they must not care. And this is all done in your subconscious. This isn't something that you might be consciously thinking, but you're going to have that wound of abandonment of, look, I'm not worthy enough. They don't want to talk about it. Why don't they want to talk about it? How could they do this to me? And all of these things keep going on and on in your mind. You have to accept that what they're doing, the behavior that they're doing or that they're displaying, has nothing at all to do with you. It has to do with them. This is a behavior that they learned in order to cope with those wounds, in order to cope with things that they don't know how to feel, they don't know how to express. So in order to deal with these uncomfortable feelings that they're having, instead of, and possibly suppressing them, this is just a coping mechanism. So one of the first things that you can do if you have to deal with this type of person is you have to learn how to process your own hurt feelings. So the reality is that even though we know this has nothing to do with us, it's hurtful. It's a friend, it's a spouse, it's a family member, it's whatever, it's someone that we care about, and for them to just shut down in the middle of an important conversation, that's hurtful because we wouldn't do that to them. But like I said, when you start to really repeat that this has nothing to do with you, that this is about them, it kind of helps to take the hurt feelings out of it because it's really not about you. It's about themselves. And while of course it still would bother us or hurt us that someone can't maybe own it or take responsibility for their own actions or want to have these conversations, because this is just what healthy, normal people do, is they communicate their thoughts and their feelings to each other. And even if we don't agree with each other, we can agree to disagree, or we can accept the way someone feels, even if it makes us uncomfortable or even if we disagree with it. We can do that as well. And that's just normal, healthy communication between anyone, whether it's a family member, spouse, or friend. And the fact that someone else can't give you the courtesy to do that, you have to, like I've said throughout this whole video, understand that it has nothing to do with you, that they don't always know how to do those things. Doesn't excuse their behavior, but it kind of takes the sting out of it. That way you can remove yourself from the situation and not take it so personally. The next thing is you have to communicate with this person how you feel. So if they give the silent treatment and then they just kind of brush it under the rug, at some point in time, you're going to have to bring up that conversation, that they gave you the silent treatment, number one, that the conversation got swept up under the rug, and that's not how you operate in life. And you have to express to them how it made you feel. Does that mean that they're going to come back and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry for giving you the silent treatment for a day or a week or a month or whatever? No, probably not, but it's good for you. It's good for you to stand up and tell this person what you think and how their behavior made you feel. And the next thing, which is the most important thing that you can do for yourself, is you have to set a boundary. So if this is about not only are we communicating to this person, how their behavior made us feel, but also we're communicating to this person what we expect in a relationship, whether that's a marriage or a romantic relationship, a friendship, it doesn't really matter. Any relationship, this is the bare minimum for me to have a relationship with you, is I don't operate that way. And if you choose to shut down because you're getting overwhelmed, that's perfectly fine, but we have to have this conversation at some point in time. And again, we can't force people to want to do those things, but we can set a boundary and enforce our boundary, which is maybe we don't talk so much. Maybe we don't talk about a specific topic that really got us both kind of riled up and that kind of started this conversation or started this, that led us into this place that we're in right now. Maybe we don't talk about those things. So it's whatever kind of works for you. Maybe if this happens all the time with everything that we're talking about, where, maybe we're in a romantic relationship or we're in a marriage, and anytime we have a conversation about anything, you just shut down. That's not the basis of a healthy relationship or a healthy marriage. So maybe we have to end that friendship or end that relationship with someone. And people oftentimes don't like to hear that, and they ask me, well, what is a consequence for a boundary? I mean, really, there's only two things that you can kind of do. You can limit or three things. You can limit your contact with someone, you can deal with their abusive behavior, or you can leave the relationship. That's really the only options that you have. So I hope that this has kind of helped you guys understand why people tend to give the silent treatment, and really what you can do to not only kind of arm yourself and protect yourself, but also how to really deal with someone when they are giving you the silent treatment, how to handle this person. So that is it for this week's video. Thank you guys so much for all of your comments, all of your love and support. I'm so blessed to do this every single day. I absolutely love what I do. If you are interested in private coaching, I will link that information down below. If you are interested in following me on social media, I will list that as well. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next week.